Hello, it's me again, Tasha C. And I just wanted to start off this video before anything else, sending my condolences to Jay and his family. Um, may his mother rest in peace. This was kind of like a tough episode to watch because of the events that folded in and everything. But tonight I'm reviewing in this video, Real World Explosion Season 29, Episode 3. Well, let me get started really focusing on Jay and the passing of his mom. Now, which was revealed later on. We see with Jay, since they're not allowed to have cell phones in the house, I don't think TVs neither. I don't think when you do the real world on shows. He had wrote all the numbers down. He didn't remember them by heart, including his mom's. So his paper is completely ripped up. Everybody, of course, is saying that they had nothing to do with it, but I kind of figured before even it happened, who the person was, just based on their behavior. They seemed to be the only person that would seem like against everybody at the house every time they're drunk, and the next day they just pretend like I don't understand people why they have a problem with me. I'm a victim. So we all know from previous, with even the first episode, that Jay's mother has been, dealing with cancer on and off through his entire life. She's been dealing with complications with cancer. So he talks, and I remember, like I said, after the phone, the paper, the contact paper, and he tried finding out, like trying to get the numbers, especially of course with his mom, because he has to talk to his mom every day, which is understandable. He talks to Arlene about, he keeps the family. He's kind of like the glue that keeps the family together. They're all, a very strong family. And, like I said, sorry y'all, this was, like I said, a tough episode. So he finally does a couple days later, talks to his mother. His mother is actually going to have a surgery on her lungs. And, like I said, because he had to call his dad because it turned out it was the wrong number prior to that. And he was able to get his number from him. But like I said, it really the issue was he didn't know the number by heart, and he had it on a list of phone list, and somebody, purposely in the house took it and and destroyed and ripped up the paper. And let's just get out of the way while we're at it. We see later on with Ashley's being, I'm the victim, but I'm always the bitch. They showed previous 4 days earlier. This wasn't revealed to after the passing of Jay's mom. That she goes to the box where where they have the phones and everything, video cam, screen, whatever, webcam and everything, and she takes the paper and just rips it up. And what makes it even worse is Jay, like I said, she had a problem with everyone in the house. Jay didn't, I didn't get sick because Jay was actually one of the cool. Most everybody was cool besides Corey when he has his anger issues, stuff like that. Everybody was pretty much chilled except her. And Jay, like I said, Jay was actually taking up for her and everything else. He was trying to be the one who tried to calm, one of the main people who tried to calm everything down, and she takes the paper, and just rips it up. Now, I didn't get a chance to see, I know the aftermath, they had, what was the aftermath after this episode, and I didn't watch it. I didn't really want to hear what the heck she had to say. Sorry, y'all. So, anyways, his mom was supposed to go in for surgery, and his father ends up calling, I think, the day of. There was complications, and unfortunately, that's when we hear the news about his mother passing. And it was just so sad. And it was the one time, even Ashley, this is why she was talking for 1 second in the confessionals, because everybody, was just so sad once they heard the information. Jay's just like telling us that you're lying. Please tell me, you're lying. And Arlene had to take the phone from him to speak to his dad because it gave him to his dad because he was just upset, which was understandable. And she was just, he was just saying, I don't know, if he wants to keep talking to me, wants to talk to me later, or can y'all just, basically ask them, can you date? I think he said this, can y'all, please support him at this time or something like that. And so Arlene was just letting him know, we'll help him out, be there for him. And Corey, I guess maybe they edited out, or maybe he just didn't want to show that he cried because that was the only person he didn't show that he cried. All you seen again was him, knocking a chair over again, a stool over, whatever, bar stool, and he just leaves out the room. I guess maybe he might have probably. Jay was saying later on that everybody in the house was being supportive of him. So throughout the episode, he leaves, I think, a couple days, to go back to the Bronx, to go to his mom's funeral, and his ex-girlfriend, even though they're not together, they still have a close relationship as. But Jenny, I think her name is Jenny or Jessie. I don't want to get her name wrong. But his ex-girlfriend says, she has trust issues and he has commitment issues. So that's the reason why they're not together. But they, like I said, it's very close because after he got the information from his dad, he ended up calling her to tell her that she died. She was even at the house when the last time when we seen Jay's mother. She was actually there at the house before he got called by the rural cast. And like I said, overall, in Jay's case, like I said, he's very strong, and I was surprised, but, like I said, that takes a lot of strength that even after all that, even going to his mom homecoming and everything else, he still had enough strength to come back to the house. He did come back, I think, on the second to last, towards the end of this episode, he did come back, like I think, say like on Saturday, and but he did say this. First he thought, of course you have the guilt trips, like all the stupid stuff he said, all this time, all this stuff, just everything just unraveling his mind and stuff. And he ended up saying this. He even had brought it up once he first got back to the Bronx with his dad and I think his brother Charlie about the issue. If he would have had the right number, he could have got at least just 2 more days, to talk to her before her passing away. So this malicious act of Ashley's of doing the fuckery that she's known for, sat there and like I said, he could have spent 2 more days, and that's what, like I said, his family members, his dad and his brother were talking about. It's like, yeah, if you would have had the number, you probably could have, with the wrong number thing, you could have spoke to him. So, like I said, I just want to send my condolences to him and his family. Now let's get to do other things that Jamie and I guess Jamie and Tom are still cupcake and snuggling as usual. But let's fast forward. Okay, Arlene, she still loves her ex-girlfriend, but the reason why they broke up is because it was basically one of those things. She didn't think she could have the career career that she was trying to have and be fully committed to the relationship too. And her girlfriend ends up also visiting, staying a couple of days, and so I think she got a chance to meet Jay and everything like that. And also, like I said, she is her and Jay are starting to become close, and we were seeing also an episode where she was with Jenny a lot of times, and even took her to go to the hair for this first. By that time, Jenny also had to throw up because she had a hangover, which we'll talk about the birthday party thing. And so, because Arlene couldn't stand her roots of her hair, so she ended up getting her hair done. So yeah, like I said, Arlene seems to be a cool one too. So another problem, well, not really a problem, but when the beginning, like I said, we're doing the countdown. I think they got like 14 days, and I think on the previews that next week is when the exes arrive. And it was Jenny's birthday, so she's having dancing and everything, let us know that she just can do this all with her leg here, whatever, but like I said, it was her day, so okay. Then, you get to Corey for background, and Corey told her first what she had, was able, she was the center of attention at the club. He said, enjoy your day, having blah, 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 right? Because although they really haven't been talking whatever ever since, we've seen the end of the last episode, at least for what I gathered. I don't know if it's the day after or whatever, right? So, this one guy was talking to her and offered her a drink, happy birthday, blah, blah, blah. I asked her if she wanted a bachelorette. I guess there was some bachelorette party at the club, too. And she said no, it was just my birthday. So they ended up talking about it, drinking, and Corey felt a little offended. I mean, this is, like I said, this birthday scene is, I think, a couple of days or whatever before Jay's mother passed. So y'all just let y'all know that I am random. And Corey feels offended, but I did notice that Thomas said, yeah, she just disrespected you, something along those lines. I'm just paraphrasing about, yeah, she just, whatever, she just doing her own thing. And, Corey, and her, with I think that same night, because he's all saying that he had feelings for Jenny, and then here she, and he just looks at her now like any other girl. And then he's bringing up about, I think he was talking to Thomas, I think, about this when he got back to the house, ordered confessionals. And then he decides to bring up Jenny too, about on the second night, which is obviously the second night, on the second night when they were in the houses, when they screwed in, the bear hats on, the bear, and bear sheets and everything else. So, I mean, basically the confessionals. So, Jenny's up there getting upset, like, well, you keep bringing up this thing, because, like I said, he was kind of offended, because we already know Corey has a jealous streak and has anger issues. And, Jenny at first was all saying, like, she was getting irritated, kept saying, one or too many times about the second night, or reminding, like, indirectly, like, I was able to get it only after the second night of so-called knowing you. And so she goes to him, like she's going to hit him. All she did was just like this, and just said, "You're a bitch" or something, and then just walk away, whatever the case was. And they decided the next day, supposedly for now, that they are going to remain just friends, and they did everything too fast, and we're just going to do our things, but it was like just too fast, too many emotions, too little time. So we're just going to remain friends. Yeah, we'll see how long that lasts. As far as just friends and not friends without benefits. So let's save the worst for last. And besides, of course, this condition. I mean, like I said, with Jade and the passing spot. What I want to say is the worst person in the house. Like I said, is Ashley. Now I already knew it was either gonna be her or between I know Corey, but Corey's the type of person that ain't gonna mess with nobody's paper. Okay, he's the type that wants to throw glasses or bar stools, knock them over, stuff like that. He ain't messing with feel like ripping paper. He feels like throwing stuff, so he ain't worried about no paper, nothing like that. So I kind of assume I don't know why, because Ashley and Corey were the only ones that were throwing stuff around the house, so that's the reason why. Then Ashley got her issues and Corey got his anger issues. So, other than that, Ashley, feels again, or she always been telling, of course, the other roommates had to bring up about how she keeps saying over and over again about she wants to leave, blah, 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 and everything else, right? So it was one time in the club that she was able to get them into, and again, she's doing where she's had too many drinks, so she's doing the same repeated behavior of, dancing out of control, saying belligerent stuff, blah, blah, blah. And I think, just one of her usual things. And then she's with her boyfriend, which I like, that's Francis, the first one, the first episode, right? And, who likes her, who's fun, and all this other stuff. And she's with her best friend, and she just feels again has to remind us that she's sick and tired of being here, and blah blah blah, and whatever. And like I said, of course, she was in that one time confessional that she felt bad, and maybe she needs to change herself from drinking. And we see the next day she was drinking, and then that's when we see the footage about that she did rip up Jay's paper. But like I said, I didn't look at the aftermath, so I don't. An aftermath special came right before them, where all of them, including her, was on there. So anyway, she ends up leaving 3 days. This is also around the time with Jay is left for for funeral, his mom's funeral and everything. And she ends up was gone, for 3 days or whatever, a couple days. But the next day Jenny was the one who noticed that she was her stuff was still there, but she wasn't there in the morning time. And you could tell, maybe it was just me, but I noticed the vibe somewhat changed, where everybody was just like ding dong, witch is dead or something like that, because the house vibe, I could have sworn, wasn't as stressful as it was when she was in the house. But I can say this though, the night I forgot to mention, Ashley said one thing, the only thing that was somewhat positive she has said last couple of days. When the same night that Cord was bringing up about the second night and just talking to you just like any other girl I hit or whatever, as far as banging out the walls, whatever the case was. Ashley was on the phone, and Corey stepped to her, was standing over whatever, like whatever. But Ashley said this, don't talk to her that way. You know, that was the only thing. But at least she didn't really go further than that. Because how usually goes. You're nothing. I can owe you, your family, and your future grandkids, or whatever. I'm used to her doing that. So everybody is like, we don't really care about Ashley coming back. They were even happy. Like I said, Arlene's ex-girlfriend is there at the time, or whatever. And Jay finally comes back, and he picks up the phone, and Ashley is calling, right? Now she, says in the confessional, she realizes this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, so it would make sense for her to come back to, the house. And, she was just wondering, was it okay? And Jay's just like, okay, well, we're going to have a house vote, and we'll have a house meeting, and we will get back to you when we get the results, whether we want, I'm paraphrasing, whether we want your ass back in the house or not. You and your drama included. And her, back with usually throwing her purse and can't remember the next day. So, he told all the other cast members, and they sat there and they, did the yes or no, put it, put it in a little box, shake it up, or whatever they did, and it turned out 2 said yes, 4 said no, and it pretty much ended that he called back Ashley and told her, well, I'm here to tell you that we decided that the majority vote was, we don't want you back here. Okay, have a good night. Okay, so, and that's how pretty much it ended. And so, y'all, that's my end of my review. Thank you all of the lovely subscribers, and rate, subscribe and comment, and I'll definitely see you in the next episode. Okay, have a great night.